Welcome back. We are moving on with ellipses today. We're going to start with just a quick reminder of the formulas. They're also on the formula sheet, but in case you don't have that, here they are. So if it runs horizontal, all right, so if it runs this direction, that means X and A are going to be, well, A is the larger one, so it doesn't have to be first. So we're going to have X minus H quantity squared. A squared would fall underneath this one because it runs left and right. Y minus K quantity squared, this would be B squared, which is your minor axis. And of course, the whole thing equals 1. If it's a vertical, meaning it opens up and down, runs this way, the numerator, or the top parts of the fractions, remain the same. And what this means is that the bigger one, A squared, runs underneath the Y since it goes up and down. That's your major axis. And this will be B squared. A is the distance from the center to the vertices. B is the distance from the center to the co-vertices. And C is the distance from the center to the focal points. And in order to find C squared, I'll put it down here, C squared is equal to A squared minus B squared. So there's a quick rundown of what we need in order to write these equations today. Of course, they're going to ask you about some other parts too, because that's how it goes. The details on conic sections is the whole point of it. So we need to find the center. I would find the center before you did anything. Which on here, it's a little bit weird. Let's see. Looks like it's right here. That's the center. So the center is at -1, 2. So right away, we have x plus 1 quantity squared over something, and y minus 2 quantity squared, and the whole thing equals 1. So just from the center, that's what we get. Now the vertices run the long way, and they're just asking you to read the graph to write what these points are. And I've lost track of where my x and y axes are. So here's the x and y axes. I should not have connected that with a black line because now I can't figure out what's happening. So we have vertices at 6, 2 and -8, 2. This is a grid that's 8 by 8. So that's why it's easy to sort of figure out. Co-vertices are the short way. You don't have to label them. I'm just trying to remind you where they are. And so these are at, looks like -1 up 5 and -1, -1. So we're pretty much ready to write the equation, finish it. So left and right from the center to the vertex. Of course, I've already forgotten how much that is. Looks like it's 7. So left and right is 7. So A is 7, so this will be 49 underneath here. Up and down is 3, so this will be a 9. So that's the equation. Now they also want the focal points. And so we have C squared is equal to, right, I'm looking up here, big minus small, 49 minus 9. So C squared is 40, and we take the square root, make that a decimal. And so your focal points will be 6.3 this way and 6.3 that way. So from the center, we have -1, and we're going to add and subtract 6.3. So because it's not on the graph, I'd like to do the arithmetic. So we have -7.3, 2, and then, of course, 5.3, 2. For this next equation, again, the center, start there. This looks like it's the point. Here's the origin right here. 3, -2. Sorry, excuse me. And then we're going to have x minus 3 quantity squared, and then y plus 2 quantity squared equals 1. Oops, I don't know where that one, this is not here. We can go ahead and count these spaces if you want to. We've got the co-vertices, so the short way is 2. And so that means that underneath the x, it'll be 2 squared. And the long way is 5. And so up and down, is going to go 25. This is your vertex. So our vertices are at 2. Wait a second. Sorry. I don't know why I can't keep track of myself. Sorry. This is a 3. And up 3. And the other vertex will be at 3. Looks like -7. Yep. The co-vertices are the short way. So this point and this point. This looks like it's at 1, -2, and 5, -2. Sorry, it took me a second to count those. Now the focal points. C squared is equal to big minus small, 25 minus 4, so 21. Square root of 21 is 4.6. So from the center, and our center is at 3, -2, we're going to have to add and subtract this 4.6 to the -2 because we want to go up and down. 4.6 from the -2. So our focal points are at 3, -6.2, and 3, 2.2. Oh, it's 4.6. Oh my goodness, sorry. I'm losing track of myself here. Sorry, 0.6. Now, from some information. Just remember your parts. We need A, we need B. We need the center. So up to you how you want to do this. If you need to draw a quick graph, and then do so. The idea is that you can do this with midpoints, right? So it says find the center using the midpoint of the vertices, co-vertices, or focal points. The midpoint formula is generally pretty easy to do. If you can't picture the points, you might need to draw a quick graph. It does not need to be awesome or perfect. Let me show you what I mean. So for the vertices, I'm at 5, -2. There's a vertex, right? Just whatever. And then I'm -19, -2. So this thing runs this direction, which tells you that that's the direction for a squared. So our big number, a squared, will be under the x. So we know we're going to have x quantity squared. This is how it always goes. Y quantity squared. We know it's going to equal 1. And underneath this is going to be the a squared. I don't know what a squared is, but I know that's where it's going. So let's find the center. So the center will be the midpoint, and midpoint is x plus x. I'm looking at x plus x divided by 2. So that's -14, so we get -7. And then you can tell the y values match. So -7, -2 is our center. So we're going to have x plus 7 quantity squared, y plus 2 quantity squared. Now, the length of the minor axis. This was from the notes from Friday. This is 2b because it's minor, it's short. So that means we know b, if 2b equals 10, and then b equals 5. So this is where b squared goes because this is not a squared, basically. So this is going to be our 25. Now, we don't have a squared. We don't have an information to figure out a squared, but we do have information about c. So the distance from the center, which I have right here, to one of these vertices. So I'm just going to write this down because I've written all over it. So what is the distance between these 2 points? Well, the -2's match, so we don't have to look at that. So if you think about a number line, this is a little bit faster than using, let's say, the distance formula. So we are, we're trying to go from -7 to 5. So if you think about a number line, sorry, get back at myself here, -7 to 0, that would be 7, and from 0 to 5, that would be 5 more. So that means that the distance between these 2 points is 12, and this is c. Now, c is not in the equation, but we can use that c squared equals a squared minus b squared to figure that out. So 144 is equal to a squared minus 25. Add 25, And we get 169 underneath that x. Same deal. So the covertices. Let's take a look at what this looks like. So over 9, way over here, up 1. -3, up 1. But these are the covertices. This is B. If B runs that direction, that means A runs this direction. Now, it doesn't matter for the order of the answer, right? The answer is going to be X, Y. But what matters is which one is A squared. So A squared is going to be underneath the Y this time. Length of the major axis, that's 2B. So that means B is 14. So B squared is 196. And B squared, of course, is this guy. You can tell he runs left and right. Left and right is X. I don't know what the center is, but I know that this is 196 right here. Oh, that says major axis. Hello. I'm like, wait a minute, this is awful big for a small guy. So that's A, my fault. So then the 196, I hate the eraser. The 196 doesn't go here. The 196 goes here, sorry. And we need the center. So the distance, or the center rather, would be 9 plus -3 divided by 2. That's a 6 divided by 2, so our center's at 3, 1. X minus 3, Y minus 1 up top. Now we need B squared. And we figure out B squared, just like we figured out in this last problem, just like this. So C squared equals A squared minus B squared. Or do we even need that? If we have the covertices, we don't need that because we can tell the distance from the center to one of these. And so from -3 to 0 would be 3, and back to 3 again would be 6. So this is a 36 because B equals 6. You square that, and it goes underneath the X. And so really, these are all pretty much the same. They just have different starting points. All you got to remember is A is the major, B is the minor, C is for the focal points. So it doesn't matter what you find the midpoint of. So for example, these vertices, in order to find the center, all we have to do is find the midpoint of these 2 points. Well, when your values match, right, so X matches, don't mess with that. All we need to do is figure out the Y value. 11 plus -15 divided by 2. Well, that's -4. So this is the center. So again, you don't know which way this thing goes, up, down, left, or right, but what you do know is X minus 5 quantity squared, Y plus 2 quantity squared equals 1. I would strongly suggest that you write that down. Even if that's as far as you can get, that's almost the whole equation. So it kind of looks like you do know what you're doing, even if you don't. And so we got to find the distance from the center to a vertex. So it doesn't matter which point, but again, we're trying to find the distance between 5, -2 and 5, 11. And again, I would think of this as the number line. So don't look at the 5s because those match. The distance from -2 to 11 is 13 because we have to go -2, and then we get to 0, and then we have to go 11 more. So 2 plus 11 is 13. These are vertices. Vertices go with A. So we know that A is 13. Now we got to figure out which one does A go under. Does it go under X or does it go under Y? If you need a quick little graph for that, let's do it. So we're going to graph these points right here. 5, 11 and 5, -15. It, like I said, doesn't really matter if you count. You just need to know that, oh, okay, up and down, which is Y. This is where the A is going to go. It doesn't equal A, but Y and A line up top to bottom. So we know that A is 13. 13 squared goes here. Now we need B. B comes from the covertices. We don't have that. So we're going to have to find what we can use is these focal points. So we need to know the distance from a focal point to the center. So from 5, 10 to 5, -2, that distance, right? We go 10 and 2 more is 12. That's c. Now that doesn't go in the equation, but we know that c squared equals a squared minus b squared. So 144 is equal to 169 minus b squared. Now when you subtract 169, we get a negative, but that's okay because this side is also a negative. So they can easily turn into a positive. And this is what we're looking for. Just took us a minute to get there. For number 6, the length of the minor axis is 8. This is b, so 2b equals 8. We know b right away is 4. We want the midpoint to find the center. So we know the y values match. You don't have to do that. 11 plus 5 divided by 2 is 8. So our center is at 8, 0. You can write 0 or not write 0. That's totally up to you. I'm going to write it just to show you where it goes. Right? So then this is, we don't know what's on the bottom. This would be y minus 0. And we don't know what's on the bottom. And we got to figure out which way this thing goes. So the focal points, 11. Go right 11, but don't go up or down. Go right 5, don't go up or down. So it runs this way. This is C, and your focal points are on your major axis. So the long axis, the major axis, is the x-axis. So underneath x is going to go a squared. We don't know what that is right yet, but that's where it's going to go. Remember, we found b was 4, so 16 goes underneath the y. Now we need to know what c is. The distance from the center to the focal point is 3. Doesn't matter if you go 8 to 5 or 11 to 8, doesn't matter. So c is 3. So now we do c squared is equal to a squared, don't know it, minus b squared. And then just add the 16 over here, and we get 25 is a squared, and that goes underneath